Mateo Berbejicio, thank you so much for being here. I know it's weird to be talking to myself, but as I promised before, I was going to do a monologue episode for the Future of the Future podcast. So here we are, and I wanted to keep the standard of me interviewing people. And basically, what I'm going to be doing today is interviewing myself, right? So here we go. 1 year anniversary of the podcast, one episode a week since March 2023. I'm very, very proud about it. It started kind of as an initiative that I didn't know, how far it was going to be. I knew I wanted to give it my all, but I didn't know if I was going to be able to sustain it, right? And I'm very proud to say that I did that for 1 year since March 2023. I have been releasing one episode a week and interviewed a lot of people. This is the 52nd episode. Um, and it had lots of effort, but I enjoyed, right? I learned to enjoy the process, interviewing people, knowing their story, have a lot of fun. I'm learning a lot of things. I'm able to provide a lot of value for my network, right? So what is the Future of the Future podcast? Um, it's basically me, Mateo, interviewing technology leaders and talking about anything and everything related to technology, the future, and most importantly, I think the stories of anyone that I'm interviewing, right? Their stories. How did they get to where they are today? How did they get started? What challenges did they face? How did they overcome the challenges? Who helped them? Did they help anyone? Right. So there's always a nice story behind them, and so it's always conversational. I interview leaders and I make it very conversational. I ask questions and then we start having a conversation. And it's very fluid, and I try to avoid editing as much as I can. I don't do a lot of editing, and I think that's part of the what makes it easier as well for me to just record episode after episode after episode, right? So who is behind the Future of the Future podcast? It's me, Mateo Berbejicio. Who am I? I am an attorney based out of Uruguay who worked most of his life in the outsourcing industry. I started working in the outsourcing industry in 2009 at Tata Consultancy Services. I was managing a procure to pay process. So I transitioned the whole process from PwC in the US to TCS, and I led a procurement, a legal, and an accounts payable team from Uruguay. After that, I worked at Altisource. Altisource is a US company that had a captive center in Uruguay. And what I did there, I was managing a vendor operations team within the default asset management industry in the US. So properties, mortgages that went under, and so properties needed to be renovated and then sold. And so I managed the vendor network that was doing that. And I got to manage a team in Uruguay, a team in India, and then a team in the US. And in 2020, I started a startup, contract lifecycle management startup with a partner in the US, but then COVID hit. That didn't work out. I always looked at the software industry. I always liked the software industry. I always wanted to be there. The work-life balance, the innovation, the pace. Um, and so I was getting ready for it. And then a friend was starting a software company, and then I got in as a VP of operations. And then they asked me to sell, and I didn't want to sell, but it worked out. And then the rest is history. That worked out, and then I joined another company, and then I joined Exceed mostly to open up the U.S. market. Exceed is a software development company out of Uruguay, and I did well, and I became eventually a partner and the CEO. And so that's kind of my background, an attorney that was mostly operations focused, that started working in sales by accident, but then I eventually was good at it, and then I'm now leading a software development company out of Uruguay. We hire in all of South America, and we work for US clients. Why did I start the podcast? Right? Why am I doing this? So, as I said, right, if you look at my background, it's kind of it's not intuitive. The changes that I did and where I am today and my background don't really match, right? It's not like I'm an expert on technology. And so I spend a lot of my day in LinkedIn. I spend a lot of my day networking. And I wanted to have something that will provide value to my network, right? And I didn't feel like I had a voice that I could speak as an expert in technology. So I thought maybe I can just interview people, have them speak. I will be able to provide value to my network. My guests will have value by being at the podcast, and then both of our networks will enjoy the content that we are creating, right? So it's a win-win. Um, so as you can see, it was mostly kind of a I wouldn't call it a commercial strategy or a marketing strategy, but it had some of it, right? And then what happened, um, if you ask, okay, that's a start, but how do you keep going? Why do you keep going after, more than a year? I find it that I enjoyed very much. I like I said, I enjoy interviewing people. I enjoy the process. Um, I enjoy. I will describe myself as an introvert that can be extroverted when needed, and so this is one of those situations where I can be extroverted. I have no issues getting on the microphone, in front of the camera, whatever, speaking, and interviewing people, right? And so the other thing is, it simply became easier, right? As I kept going, as I kept interviewing people, I started finding patterns, and I started becoming better and asking the right questions, and I started becoming better at making guests feel comfortable so that they will tell their story, and even some of the most intimate things, like what drives you, what motivates you, right? Some stuff, or tough things that happen in their lives and that they went through and that make up their story. um so that's why I keep going, right? It I enjoy it. I see that I can provide a lot of value to my network. A lot of people will tell me, I listened to this episode, to this other episode, um and that's, to me, is very, very, very valuable, and it makes me feel very, very good. So what topics do we cover in the podcast, and why? Like I said, most of the topics are related to technology, right? So 30% of the episodes, about 15 episodes, have been about tech leadership. I interviewed a lot of CTOs, a lot of architects, a lot of VPs of engineering, and I love talking to them about their thoughts on what does it take to succeed as a leader in technology, right? What does it mean to be a leader in technology? And there's a lot of learnings there. Um, I did a lot of episodes as well on product. I interviewed 7 product managers, or product managers, I would call them. And I had a lot of fun doing that. And then entrepreneurship is another big one. The third one, 6 entrepreneurs that founded various companies in their lifetime. Real estate, like, I have a background in real estate because of Altisource, right? I spent 7 years working there, and I met a lot of people in the real estate industry, and a few of our clients are in the Proptech industry. And so I did 4 episodes that were more related to real estate and that industry. Sales, I interact with a lot of salespeople nowadays. I'm a part of a few networking groups, and I met a lot of great people there. and I like talking to them about how they see sales, what it takes to succeed in sales, what's the future of sales, right? What's going on with how technology is changing it. AI, the elephant in the room. I did a few episodes about that. Software architecture, social media, and then a bunch of other topics, right? Very wide ranging. I did an episode on nuclear fusion. I did an episode on quantum computing. I did episodes on diversity. I did an episode on traveling around the world. I did an episode with a voiceover artist, and so that was more about art and the future of art, with everything that's going on in technology. So lots and lots of different things, um, and most of the times related to technology in the future. Um, so what have I learned? Right, I think this is the most important question. Um, and the first thing I learned is that I love doing the podcast. I enjoy interviewing people, and I enjoy it so much that sometimes I wonder, but I wonder about doing other type of interviews as well, right? A few ideas that I have in mind is like, cab drivers, Uber drivers. I don't know about you, but I find it that most of the people that I know and myself, when we get on an Uber nowadays or a taxi in the old days, um, you end up having an amazing conversation with the driver, right? Um, Many drivers like to talk, and many drivers use their profession to do a lot of talking, and they tell you their story. And I have heard the most amazing stories. For example, I remember once I had a conversation with a driver that had been, or so he told me, but it seemed like had been a professional soccer player, a Uruguayan that had played in Mexico, and so he was telling me about, you know some of the inner workings of that league. And he told me about a few times that games were kind of arranged, and so they had visits in the locker room. And when I'm having those conversations, it feels like you are, it's like a chapter in a book, or an episode in a movie, or a series, a docu series. And you're hearing amazing things from these people that then they just gone forgotten, right? And most of the times we see interviews with famous people, we see conversations with famous people, but I think there are a lot of you know simple, not simple, but people out there in the streets that have amazing stories that many times don't get told, right? So that's one of the things I enjoyed so much. I enjoy interviewing people so much that I'm thinking about doing other concepts or things, or going to a fair, right? And then just interviewing random people that are selling stuff there, right? What do they sell? How do they sell it? How's the business working? How do they get there? What other things have done in their lives? I just have a camera there with all the real life colors there in the street. I don't know, stuff like that. The second thing that I learned is that everyone has a story. If you ask the right questions, you will open a marvelous book, an exciting movie, right? Like I was saying, um, if you ask the right questions, everyone has an amazing story. You are listening right now, maybe you're thinking, I don't have a story. You do. It's just nobody maybe took the time to ask you the right questions, or order them the right way, or put them in a podcast episode, or a story, or whatever it is, right? It's amazing what you can do when you ask the right questions and you keep the right flow. And that's one of the third thing that I learned, is that people love talking about the story. Once you make them comfortable enough, it's not a bad process. It's a process that they enjoy. I have yet to find a person that, after they accept to be on the podcast, or even when we talk about it beforehand, they don't enjoy telling their story, right? Or realizing their story. And this is where I see that I add value as well, not only for the rest of the network, but the guest, right? Some of them, I will see them posting a lot of clips of the interview afterwards, or they feature the interview in their LinkedIn profile, right? That's the first thing you see when you go into their LinkedIn profile. And that makes me so happy and so proud, right? Because I feel like I really gave them value, and it was a good thing for them to join the podcast and get something out of it as well. Um, the fourth thing that I learned is that I think I'm better at listening now, right? And my advice, if you want to be better at listening, is pretend that you are doing a biography, pretend that you are a journalist, and ask the questions that will help you write the book or tell the story, right? If you do that, and if you really get into like learning the story and not thinking about what you're going to say, right? I mean, the most important thing to become a good listener is shutting off the need to say something. Forget about you, forget about saying something interesting. Just take out the interesting from the person that you are interviewing, right? And you're talking to them. And then the other thing that happens is that in life, I do this a lot of times. I find myself kind of becoming like a journalist and doing the kind of the interview, right? And then you start realizing who is a good listener and who is not a good listener. Some people will just tell the story, right? And then there's kind of an awkward silence where the normal question to ask will be, and how about you, right? And then the other person turning it around and asking you a question. And this is in life, not in the podcast, right? In life. Um, and you can be amazed at the amount of people that love telling their story, but they don't really turn it around, and they never ask questions, right? But still, it's an amazing skill, and you can make them feel good, and you also learn a lot of things. Then in terms of big topics, I covered and what I learned about them. The top five, let's talk about just the top five. It's too many topics to talk about here, but in terms of tech leadership in the technology world, this is a confirmation of what I thought I was going to find, but technical skills are only the beginning, right? They are only the beginning. To make the jump from an individual contributor, you can be a great software engineer, but if you want to make the jump and start leading teams, then communication, analytical thinking, and being able to go from the big picture to the small picture and back, and business acumen and emotional intelligence. So all of those are fundamental to grow and become a tech leader, right? And I think the one that we keep going back in all of the interviews is kind of the business acumen and knowing both the business impact and the value that you are driving with technology. Not just technology for the sake of technology, but what's the contribution or the impact in the business, and understanding the business that you're working for, what are their objectives, and how do they make money, and how are you going to help them, right? In terms of product, what I learned in product is that this is a very, very creative and political role, right? I will call it, it's kind of the Game of Thrones of of technology, right? I don't want to make it sound creepy. It's not like that. You're not killing people or anything like that, but I think it's a creative and a political role, because what you see displayed in product, the good product managers are very good at the art of influencing stakeholders. They are so good at it, right? And if you're a product manager, you are interacting with marketing, with the engineering team, which might be or not under your purview. You are interacting with sales, you are interacting with customers, you are interacting with the CEO and others at the leadership executive team, and you want to go a certain way, but you have to be very, very good at the art of storytelling and showing the value of what you're trying to do, the impact on the business, but also make it a compelling story, right? If I have not yet seen any successful product manager that is not good at storytelling. All of them are so good at it. And I found an amazing fact here is the 2 out of the 7 product leaders that I interviewed come from the church. They are pastors, and those guys are so good at telling a story, right? They have been trained, they have been doing it Sunday after Sunday, and so it helps them on the product side. It's I will say that being a product leader and a pastor have a much more in common than we realize. The third one, entrepreneurship. I interviewed so many different people, right? I did, from a teenager to senior entrepreneurs and everything in between. Um, and they all have different approaches. Um, so there's no one type of approach that I've seen, help people succeed, but they all share the drive and the determination to keep going, right? Once they get started, they don't look back. They just keep going and going and going. I interviewed a lot of people that were entrepreneurs and then changed and switched back into something else. But this, when I talk about entrepreneurship and the episodes with entrepreneurs, these are, they are in it for life, right? And so they fail, they create something new, right? And they keep going and they keep going and they keep going. That's the most amazing thing I learned there. In real estate, we talked a lot about how technology keeps advancing, right? And it will continue advancing. But there's a personal element that will never go away. And that keeps going back in all of the conversations, right? So much of the prop tech is bringing the real estate transaction online, but there's a time when you want to talk to a person, and that's because everything related to your home, those are the most, the most important financial and personal decisions you're going to make in your life, maybe after getting married, right? Um, so at the end of the day, you still want to meet someone, talk to someone eventually. But things keep getting into the virtual world and they will continue going that way, and now you can do an open house and people can just join remotely with VR glasses, or you can go to a house with an AR glass and just play around the home, or do it with VR to see how furnitures will look there, etc., etc. You can close a home completely online, you can visit homes, you can so many things that you can do with technology in real estate, right? In terms of sales, um, it keeps going back to loving the process, right? Sales is tough. You're going to be rejected a lot of times, and so you have to grow a thick skin and learn to love the process, understand that it's a numbers game, and out of 100 you get told no 99 times, and then you get a yes, and that's okay. That's part of the process, right? And that's why sales is such a demanding role that takes a toll on you emotionally, and you have to be very, very, very strong to be able to survive and thrive in a sales profession. And then the last one that I want to talk about is AI, right? And AI is bringing, I think, equal amounts of excitement, scare, and confusion. There are different opinions about AI, different opinions about definitions, how it works, what it does or what it does not do, how close are we to AGI or not. Um, but I think what everyone agrees is that we are living through a revolution, that work will change. We just don't know how yet, but things will change. Things are changing, right? I don't know about you, but I leverage AI, not all the time, but many times, and I use it both as a source of productivity to get more productive, but also it's weird. I use also AI for creativeness, for inspiration, for I want to write something, I don't know where to start. I ask ChatGPT or other models, pretend you are a marketing director and you need to write a piece about blah blah blah. The most important thing is that I don't copy and paste it and then no, I just get inspired by it. Like I look at it and I go like, oh, I see where you're going. This is how I would like to do it myself, and then I change it, right? Um, and who will have ever thought that we will be using AI in that way, right? I don't know. So that's a silly, simple example. So many people are doing so many things with AI, and we are only getting started. Um, I had a great conversation, a podcast that I didn't release yet with a CTO, a friend of mine, and he has been around. He has been working in technology since the 80s, right? So he saw the birth of the personal computer. He saw the birth of internet. He saw the dot-com crash. He saw the birth of the mobile. He saw everything, right? And he has been a CTO for more than 30 years. And he told me every 5 years, something comes along that people say, oh, this is the death of developers. This is the death of XYZ profession, right? And in terms of at least talking about developers, what he said was, and always, 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 there are some things that go away, but new jobs that appear, right? And what he was telling me is, people, you still need so many people to work on these programs to make them work, right? Maybe some, you know, business people or designers now can build a website with AI and they don't need a developer. Maybe yes, but you still need developers to build that software that is allowing people to build software, right? Or you put them to work on more complex things and different things, and you tackle bigger problems, right? And that's what I keep going back to. I keep going back to, I think we need to be more ambitious. I think we need to change the way we think about AI and just be more ambitious and tackle different and bigger problems, because now we have such powerful assistants that can help us get there, right? And when I get stuck and when I get afraid of it, and believe me, I do many times, I just get anxious and I go like, hey, are we all going to be out of work, right? What's going to happen? It's my business going to be out of work because, all of a sudden nobody needs developers or whatever. And then I realize and I start seeing things, and the market will tell me otherwise. And I see that no, people are actually trying to do more now that they can, right? And so there's, if anything, things are accelerating, and there's, different but more work, and so more for everyone. Of course, there's going to be suffering in the process. Of course, there are going to be professions maybe that are not needed anymore, and a lot of people will struggle converting into something new. And it's not easy to just, at any moment of your life, change what you're doing, learn something completely new. um and there's also a sad part of it, of course, right? I mean, you are very good at a craft, whatever, and then you get replaced. And you had found kind of your passion there and you love it, I don't know. And so, but the one constant in life is change. We have to adapt, we have to evolve, um and dream bigger, right? That's what I do. I choose every day, I choose to be optimistic about it. I choose to think that there will be more for everyone, and that I need to continue evolving, and I need to help everyone around me evolve, and get ready for what's next, and continue learning, continue doing new things, new stuff, right? That's the way I want to look at it, and that's the way I would recommend everyone looks at it. So what's next? Um I want to keep going. I want to keep doing a lot of podcasts. I will continue doing one episode a week. I don't see myself stopping right now. I'm thinking, when I think about the future of the future podcast, I think I don't see a reason, for stopping, unless I get ill or something. Maybe I stop for a few months and then I go back. One of my podcast heroes, Mark Maron, has been going for so long that he has like, you know, um, I think it's like 1,000, I want to say 600 episodes, something like that. It's crazy. So I'm at 52. If I do 52 a year, it's going to take me 5 years to get to 260 something. Um, so I will just keep going, and I will try to do, on one side, I want to keep it open and just interview great leaders and, talk about whatever they want to talk about. And on the other side, I want to do pointed episodes, right? Like I did want to do an episode on quantum computing, one on diversity, one on nuclear fusion, one on leadership in technology. I did all of those, right? And there's still so many things that I want to do. I want to talk about chips, which are all the rage right now with AI. It's, and the geopolitics behind it, the US, China, Taiwan, everything that's going on there. I want to talk about the 4 days work week. I want to talk with people that are doing that. How is it working? Is it not working? Why? I want to do an episode or more practical applications for AI, not just opinions, right? I see there's a lot of opinion, a lot of, getting scared about it. Okay, I want to talk about people that are using AI, revolutionizing their fields today. What is the impact, right? And I think health is one of the industries that I think is having a lot of great impact, and helping doctors, right? So I want to go there, and when I do a few episodes there and a few other things that I have in mind. If you're listening and if you are interested in being a guest at my podcast, by all means, reach out. I would love to have you here. I would love to learn your story and talk about it. And then, like I said, I still, wonder aloud about doing, out of the box type interviews to just random people on the street, right? But that's I think for a different program, not for a different show, not the future of the future podcast, but some other show. Um, Very good. If you are still listening, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you. You probably are a fan and you listened to all of the other episodes and you took the time to listen to this one, a summary of the things that I learned during the Future of the Future podcast. Um, I do want to thank a few people. Um, I want to thank Pepe Toriello, uh, because he helped me um, get into this. He helped me. I actually got inspired because of him, right? I did a podcast with him once, and then I saw that he kept doing podcasts, and I was like, I want to do that. And I asked him, how do you do it, right? And he gave me all of the tips, all of the tools. Um, I want to thank my partner Marcelo Blanco. Um, you know, always ready to support any crazy ideas that I have to forward our business together, and the entire team at Exceed that is helping me edit and publish these episodes. Um, Annie, right now, a lot of help. Aus and the rest of the team, Aaron, and so many others, right? Um, and I also want to thank Ramiro Alua, who basically gave me the whole inspiration and push to become an entrepreneur myself. I wouldn't be an entrepreneur if it wasn't for him. I started doing startups with him back in 2013. And then we always stayed in touch. And when I was trying to, think what to do after my corporate life, he was the one that gave me a push and go like, you could be good at entrepreneurship. And I didn't think so, and because of him I'm here, so thank you so much. um Very good. That's all. Thank you so much. And look forward for many, many, many more episodes of the future podcast. In the meantime, have fun and enjoy.